In today's show, we're going to send a no reply email from either SharePoint or Power Automate Flow. How are we going to do that? We're going to use the SharePoint REST API. Turns out you can send and bounce off requests from there, and then you can send out emails that come from a do not reply address, but you can even set who it is from as far as the title of the from. So kind of a neat little trick that not always applicable, but I thought was a nice one to add to people's arsenals. But first, here's our intro. Hi, my name is Shane Young with Power Apps 911. Those guys. And today we're going to send a no reply email from Power Apps and or Power Automate Flow. And the way we're going to do that is by using the SharePoint REST API, which sounds scary, but I promise it's super easy. And now you might be asking yourself, Shane, why would I want to do it this way? That is the most interesting reason I made this video. The idea here is that a lot of times you guys are like, hey, I hate the fact that when somebody sends an email from Power Apps, it either comes from them or it kind of comes from nowhere, right? And the reason for that is because of the passing the credentials, blah, 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 you don't care. But what I figured out with this method is that while we can send or be able to send the email from the SharePoint site, it's going to come in as no reply at sharepoint.com or whatever. But if they hit reply and you'd specified a user from, which you can do, which will show up, you'll see in just a second, that it will go back to them. So it will reply to them. So it doesn't technically come from your user, but it will be able to, if they reply, it'll go back to the user that you designated. It kind of gives you a lot more flexibility than all the other tools. Speaking of the other tools, I've got several emails or several videos on emails. And there's one using the SMTP connector for do not reply, right? A link up there. And then of course there is the be all, end all, everything you ever want to know about email. And that one's linked up there as well. So just check those out if you're looking for other options. But if this idea intrigues you, let's switch over to my desktop and take a look at it. Okay, so over here on the desktop, let's just run this app real quick. As you can see, I just, for sanity's sake, made a simple little Power App where I could choose people. So let's choose Aubrey. I can choose who I want to send to. So this is just a combo box from searching and finding the people. And then we can set a subject. So I just typed in something ahead of time here. And then the body. And notice that the body, we're using the rich text editor here because what we want to be able to do is get, the formatted HTML. And so the rich text editor lets us do that. So anyway, if we have all this filled in, we hit send. And after a minute, you can see that we got what we expected, right? So an email to me and Chewy. It is from Aubrey Peters. So notice it says Aubrey's name up here. But if you look at the email address it came from is no-reply at sharepointonline.com. So it used the from that we chose over in the Power App. And we'll see how this works in a minute. But we'll use that from to set the name of the person that the email's from, but it is not changing the actual email address. Then the subject is, we typed this in Power Apps just like you thought, and there you can see the formatted body. And if you hit reply, what happens, of course, as you'd expect, but look, the reply is to Aubrey, right? So it is not, the reply doesn't go back to the do not reply, even though it says do not reply. By hitting reply, you're getting the reply to being the person you wanted. So this is kind of a cool little thing. Another really great facet of this is I don't have any special permissions to Aubrey's mailbox, right? I did not have permission to send as Aubrey. I don't have permission to read her email. It's just a normal scenario where I'm able to pass this over. And the way that SharePoint sculpts the email by not sending it actually from SharePoint, but setting the reply to as Aubrey, makes everything better for me. So this is kind of a cool one, right? I like this one. So how does that work? Well, what's really happening behind the scenes is we are running a flow. So what we're going to do first is we're going to build the flow. And then once we understand the flow, right, let's understand the very simple little part. Then we'll switch gears and talk about how to integrate it. But you should know how to send all of these fields from Power Apps. There's just one little nuance, and that's why I have this one on the screen. Okay, so if I was going to build this flow, what I would do is I would just jump over to actual flow itself and say create, right? And remember, solve little problems. Do this. Fail fast. Another one of those things I teach in class so much. So we're just going to manually trigger a flow. We're going to say create. There's a manual trigger. And so the new step, we're going to search for SharePoint. And so SharePoint, we have send an HTTP request to SharePoint. The nice thing about this action is it is not premium, right? It doesn't require any special licensing. And as long as you have permissions to the SharePoint site you're hitting, you can use this. So we're going to click on that. So now it's like, all right, well, what site do you want to use? So here I'm going to choose my Power Apps video site. Now, one mental note for you real quick, right, is that This send method does have a bunch of little caveats that were kind of listed over on their screen. But the main one here is that it cannot send emails to external people. It cannot do attachments. It can do to BCC and CC. But it also, this is the reason I bring it up now, it also only works for people that the SharePoint site knows about. So if in the user table, the person exists, it can send the email to them. But if the users never use this SharePoint site, then you can't send from them or to them. So there are a bunch of little caveats. Remember, I told you none of the email, easy for me to say, pieces in SharePoint Power Apps ever scratch all the itches. So this one scratches different ones, but it now has those weird caveats around sending, right? Anyway, so keep that in mind. The site will matter because you can only send to people that are associated with the site. So then method, here instead of doing a get, we're going to do a post. And so in the URI portion, we're going to put in this right here. I'm just going to paste it because who wants to watch me type? No one. So it's _API sp.utilities.utility.send email. All right. And so that is the endpoint that you need to hit. And so the nice thing is once you find that endpoint, you could also go use Bing or Google to find out more about that endpoint and maybe other creative ideas, though I think I've exhausted all the creative ideas at this point. We do not need any headers. And so then for the body, I'm going to paste this whole body in and then we're going to talk through it. So I can copy and I go right here to body and say paste. So with this body, and keep in mind, you're looking at all this text, right? And you're thinking, Shane, I don't want to write all that down. Remember, you can go out to training.powerapps911.com and sign up for the YouTube library, and then you can just download all this stuff. But that's up to you. So anyway, what do we got here? So in the body, you're going to see we start with a curly bracket, and its properties. Notice everything is encapsulated in single quotes. So just make sure that when you're doing this, or if you're stealing the code from someone else on the internet, right? Single quotes, not double quotes, to avoid confusion. So then properties, single quotes, and then a colon. And then we got curly brackets again. So remember, this curly bracket right here and this curly bracket right here, close that, and this curly bracket and this curly bracket are connected, right? You have to have properly formatted JSON. I don't need all the space right here, though. Okay, then it's just fill in the blanks. So from Shane at powerapps911.com. Once again, in single quotes. The CC and the BCC, they all work exactly the same. They're always going to be in a table, right, or an array. So see how there's square brackets around the whole thing? So it's going to be square brackets, and then it's going to be broken down into single quotes, right? So that'll be each email address separated by a comma right here, and then single quotes again. So if you only wanted to send it to one person, then it would look exactly like that, right? You just break it down like so. And if you want to do BCC or CC, they're the same format. Square brackets around one or more email addresses. Each email address in single quotes with a comma between them, right? So yeah, so like if I want to do CC, right, I would just go right here. So single quote, CC, like this, and then square bracket, single quote, Chewy at powerapps911.com, single quote. Oh, you want to send it to Cat also? No problem. Single quote, Cat at powerapps911.com. Boom. And then after the square bracket, we do a comma. And so that's what a CC would look like. And BCC would be the exact same thing, except you have the letter B right here in front of CC. I think you figured that out. So then your subject, same thing, single quotes like so, and then a comma, body. And then just remember, inside the single quotes, that's where you would put your HTML. So in the case of this particular one, it would send the word body in bold. Let's just delete that out. So, and remember, fail fast. So you've typed all this in, maybe you've paused it so you could copy it all, or you got it off the YouTube library, whatever you did, you've got all this, you're like, all right, this looks good. Now let's just hit save over here, and let's save it and test it here before we try to make anything dynamic, right? Solve little problems. All right, it looks good, so we'll say test. Manually do my test. Underneath my face is the word button test. And it's checking my connectors. It's going to want to connect to SharePoint. It did. Say continue underneath my face and run flow under my face. So maybe I moved my face. Who knows? Oh, and done. Jeez, oh, Pete's. All right. Anyway, look, your flow ran successfully. And if I go look at my email box, one sec. Yep, exactly what you expected, right? So Now here you notice that it's Power Apps Videos at no reply dash SharePoint Online. So why doesn't it say a name? Remember last time it said Aubrey, this time it says Power Apps Videos. Well, if we look in here, I sent it from SharePoint at powerapps911.com. That is not a real email address in my domain. If we change this to be, how about we'll just say from Cat, right? So that'll be Ferguson. So if I change that from fake email address to real email address, and now we do a test, boom, 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 what we should see in just a moment is that we're going to have a email from Ferguson. So one sec. Ta-da! Email, this time it's from Ferguson.cat. Still says no reply, but then of course if we hit reply, then it goes actually to Ferguson's email address, right? That's pretty cool in my book. So to that end, we've got it, right? That's it. That's the whole flow. No special permissions, no special craziness. Now remember, if you want to control if you put a fake address, what it says, then you can go back here to your SharePoint site. You go to Site Settings, or Site Contents, and then Site Settings. I swear they move, no. Site Information, then Site Settings. They move Site Settings on me all the time, I feel like. View all Site Settings. And so if you go here to Title, Description, and Logo, so this Power Apps Videos, that'll be the title if you use a fake email address. So if you want it to be something more generic, then that's what it would come from. Okay? So that is how all of that works. Easy enough. So once you've got this flow, right now that you've got this done and you're like, this works, now all you have to do is what? You just need to go and use this to build a flow, right? Or flow that works connected to Power Apps. So you could just take this, right? You could just delete this thing, delete, and then you could just change the trigger to be Power Apps. V1, V2, it doesn't matter. I think it used V1 when I practiced. So let's do V2. Let's see if I can screw myself up. So then now what do I need to know? I just need to know the difference. So I need a from. So we'll say over here, all right, I want a from as text, add an input. Or actually, you know what? I guess I could do, so let's change this. Let's make this one the to. For the from, we'll use the fancy email. I told you I'd screw myself up. We'll call this one from. To from. You guys want to do CC? Why not? So text. No, I don't have the other one set up to do CC, so we won't. So we'll just call this one subject. But remember, to and CC and BCC, all exactly the same. If you can do one, you can do the other. And then last but not least, body. Now you might be asking yourself, Shane, why did you choose from as an email address and to as text? Just to cause myself grief, I think. But so the thing to keep in mind is that from is going to be just a simple email address, right? So cat at powerapps911. But what do we know about the to and the CC and the BCC? They have to be in that square bracket, and the email addresses have to be separated in a fancy way. So what we're going to do on the Power Apps side is we're going to make the email addresses in the fancy way so that we don't have to do all that. All right. So let's just call this Power Apps Email SharePoint Video. I know, very fancy name, right? So we're going to say save. Okay. And I guess before I leave, I should probably continue updating the flow, right? All right, so it's saved. So now what do? We're going to go down here, and we're going to go where the to is, and we're going to say right inside the double quotes, or in the single quotes, we want to use the to dynamic content. Now for the to, remember, we're not going to send the square brackets, so we need to leave those here, but we're going to send everything else. So, oh, I just did that wrong. That's going to be to. This one's going to be from. Duh. Nope. Third time's a charm. Yay. All right, so there's the from, there's the to. We're just going to get rid of the whole CC thing. We don't have to, but we're going to. Subject, same thing. Just going to put that right in between the double or the single quotes. And then here, once again, this is the body. So there you go. So now that's what your flow looks like, right? You've got the 4 inputs up here. You've got the 4 inputs down here. 2 being in a square bracket. I screwed this up in testing, so don't screw it up. All right, looks good. So I'm going to say save. And so now what do we need to do? We need to go add that over to our Power App. So we'll jump over here. We'll go over here, use this new lovely interface, Power Automate, and we will say I want to search for Video is not going to find it there because I needed to say add flow before I tried searching. So video, and we're looking for the other one. It is not there, which is typical. So hit X, then go here and say refresh. This will force it to reload the list. And hopefully after it reloads the list, we're in good shape. So now if we say video, and if we look, Power Apps email SharePoint video. So a little trick of that guy, right? The search, if you're at a flow after you've already had it open, then you're going to have to do a search, get a failure, and then do a refresh. Anyway, little trick. All right, so this is adding it. Okay, and now it's added, and now we can just throw a button. We'll just throw a button way up here. And so what do we want? We want Power Apps, what was it called? It was Power Apps email SharePoint video run. Oh, so easy to say. And so now it wants you to go through. So it's like, what is the 2? So the 2 is just going to be my combo box. And notice here I renamed all my controls, right? So the 2 is a combo box 2. The from, combo box from, input subject, and input or RTE body. Make this easier on yourself. So for the 2 line though, because I'm selecting multiple things, what I have to do is I have to use the concat function. Right, so concat your combo box selected items, and then it's going to be single quote, right? So it's double, single, double, mail, and then double, single, double again, and then comma with a comma between them. So that's why it automatically says here, if you look, single quote, Shane at powerapps911.com, single quote, comma, Chewy, blah, 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 right? Because that's the exact syntax. So if you're going to let them choose multiple ones, then you've got to use a combo box, and then you've got to use concat to get it into a string in the format that it wants. So that does it. So I can now just, now that I've visualized it in the label, I can just go up here and be like, hey, the 2, and just paste that in. The from is a lot easier. It is just combo box from selected mail. But once again, just by putting these things on labels, just makes it easier for me to visually see that they are what I think they are. Subject, we're going to do input subject.text, and then for the body, it is going to be RTE body.html text. And remember up here where it says run text underscore 2, not helpful, but it says text underscore 2 is the body. If we put our cursor right here, text underscore 1 is the subject. So if you can't remember what order you did them in, it'll help you. But there you go, we'll close that. We will hit play. We'll have this email come from Fausto. Hello, Fausto. No, you know, it should come from Gino, since Gino was the one that helped me, kind of push me in this direction. So from Gino to me and Chewy is fine. The subject typed in Power Apps. We'll just change that to Hi, Mom. And then we'll leave all the crazy body. We'll hit the new button. And then hopefully in just one moment, we get an email. And look at that. Hi, Mom, from Gino to me and Chewy. Bingo, bango, we got exactly what we wanted. So there you go, folks. That is it, right? Nothing too terribly complicated. The key was that we had to find that SharePoint REST API, but I think this opens up the doors to a lot of those email scenarios that people kind of question me on, like, hey, I want to send this email from someone else. So it's not technically from those other people, but it kind of is, because if you hit reply, it goes back to those people. So it's kind of a interesting way maybe to get to an end result that a lot of you have wanted for a long time. So questions, comments, leave them below. You know me. I like to try to answer as many of those as I can. You got anything I can help with? You got ideas for future videos? Put them down there. Also, remember, I've got lots of live training classes come up. Why don't you come take live training with me over at training.powerapps911.com. I want to hang out with you more. All right? And with that, I'm going to say thanks and have a great day. Hey, me again. Before you go, click on the subscribe button, right? Join the list of 100,000 plus people that have subscribed already. Or if you need any help, right? Check us out at Power Apps 911. We do big projects, little projects. We do training. We do everything, and we can help you. Or if you want to see more videos, you probably do, then just click on the playlist above. Cool? Thanks, and have a great day.